Time to shout hi-ho silver and saddle up, Kemosabe. The Lone Ranger opened this week in cinemas. James, what have you made of it?
Well, there's a lot of it and there's a lot to discuss. And actually, I think Ruth brought up some of the issues. You know, she didn't sort of try to hide from some of the criticisms that have been levelled at it. I'll tell you a bit about the plot first, and we'll hear a clip, then we'll really get into it. This is set in 1869 in Texas. With Armie Hammer as lawyer John Reid teaming up with the mysterious Comanche Indian Tonto, played by Johnny Depp, to catch a murderer who's on the loose. So this is William Fichtner, brilliant actor. The character's called Butch Cavendish. But the deeper they probe into this mystery, the more they find that Cavendish has some ties to very important people. So it's basically the Pirates of the Caribbean lot coming back. So you got Johnny Depp, Gore Verbinski directing it, Jerry Bruckheimer producing it, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio writing the extremely long script. And here's a clip.
It's my brother's fist.
Eyes cut by the bullets that killed him. From the great beyond, we will protect you. And the ones you love.
You want me to wear a mask?
The men you seek think you are dead, Kemosabe. Better to stay that way.
All right. But if we ride together, it's to bring these men to justice in a court of law. Is that understood?
Justice is what I seek, Kemosabe.
Sounds fun.
I loved it. For the first half hour.
Oh, okay.
The first half hour is breathtaking. Lovely opening shots of old San Francisco. You get an ancient Johnny Depp in fabulous wrinkly old man makeup relating this tale of the Lone Ranger in the Old West to a small boy. You get this stunning steam train action set piece out in the valleys. Amazing stuff. And you meet then Johnny Depp as young Tonto doing his best Buster Keaton impersonation and coming out with great lines and wearing a dead bird on his head. And it's a romp, an absolute romp for that first half an hour. I wanted it to end there. It would have been a beautiful moment had the end credits started running and you thought, what a perfect 30-minute movie. Of course, it then carries on and then you get into the plot. And for me, that was when it started to go downhill because it gets very uneven then, gets quite slow. No character seems to be able to relate the plot without endless mucking about. It's like they can't just speak to each other and say things. They have to speak to each other and then surround it with loads of faffing around. And I think that's why the movie's so long, because there's just endless scenes with people just mucking about the whole time. And you just want to shout, get on with it. We could do this in 100 minutes. That's frustrating. But I think for me, the worst thing, well, not the worst thing, but a disappointing thing, and Ruth kind of mentioned this, although I slightly disagree with her, is that actually I don't think it's a Johnny Depp film. I think it's an Armie Hammer movie. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a bit like going to see Wham in concert and finding out that Andrew Ridgeley's doing all the vocals. You know, it's kind of not what you pay your money for. And although they have obviously made him less of a sidekick, Tonto, than in the original TV show and the radio show, I still think it is more about Armie Hammer. And he's got a character, this character of... It's John Reid, isn't it? Who's not that exciting. I mean, they've tried to make him a bit more exciting because he's a bit nerdy and is a bit Jobsworth and he's not a natural action man, but it's not that funny. And actually, I wanted to see Johnny Depp being brilliant, and he is great at Tonto. It's a great performance, but he is still the sidekick. And you're in this weird position where you've got a megastar in a sidekick role, and then you've got a guy who's just not that exciting taking the title character. I don't think they've ever really solved that problem of who is actually leading this movie, who is it about?
That's an interesting point, actually. I kind of quite liked Armie Hammer, but I know what you mean. You want him to be the hero, don't you? And I kind of see what you mean.
You know, with remakes and reboots from things that are pretty dated now, and the original Lone Ranger is an old property now. Of course, writers want to update it. They want to twist it. They want to give it a spin. But I don't know really what the best spin would would be on the Lone Ranger, because this spin, trying to make him someone who's a bit of a geek, isn't that great. It hasn't really worked. And then when he does become a bit more of an action hero, you go, well, how the hell did that happen? What, from geek to hero? You know, you don't really see the process. So
Okay.
I think the thing is there are huge highs and huge lows, and certainly I love the opening half hour, and actually I think it ends well. I mean, I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will say that there's action and spectacle, and actually the action spectacle set pieces are, I think, its strong point. And you cannot deny that just hundreds of people have been involved in creating this thing. It's incredibly impressive, and you can see the money on screen. You know, the worst thing is to go and see a huge budget movie and it looks cheap. This looks expensive. So when they actually crack open the action and it gets big and it gets tense and it gets action packed, then things really pick up. And certainly that's at the beginning and certainly that's at the end. My issue is the stuff in the middle.
Okay, yeah, a few points from me. I took myself to the IMAX to see it yesterday. I love a proper outing. I was thinking, well, if it's going to be a mediocre film, I'm going to see it on the best screen possible. One thing I'd say, take a picnic, cheese and meat-based snacks, plats with flask of tea, maybe a car blanket in case there's lots of air conditioning.
This is your usual list, isn't it, for the cinema? Sit
exactly.
on an aisle seat so you can be near the
So
toilets.
you can get to the loo
Yeah.
easily, because it is a long haul. If it was me, I'd cut a bit of the backstory, just get to the point of why, you know, when the jeopardy happens, why does he become the outlaw, and then bada bing. You could cut a whole hour. It would be great. But I think, remember that it's Gore Verbinski and Johnny Depp, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean film. It is the summer holidays, and it is for kids, a lot of it. Although for older kids, it's a 12A, because there is one quite gruesome bit where you don't actually see something, but it's alluded to, and I did turn my eyes away. And don't take it too seriously. I think it's very much played for laughs. There is, you said the word, as you say, romp or caper. It is a real romp. And I think Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp are really funny. William Fichtner, I think that's how you say his name, is so brilliant as the evil, bloodthirsty Cavendish. He's so horrible. His teeth, his eyes, his very, very soul.
He's great.
And I must give a little shout out, a prop, is that what they call it? Props. Stop it, Mum. To Harry Treadaway, twin brother of Luke, who's in The Curious Incident and The Dog of the Night at the moment, which I'm desperate to see. Their mum and dad must be so proud. Look how talented they are. Anyway, he is brilliant as Frank, who's the camp, hapless baddie stooge. And every time he came on the screen, he properly made me laugh. I thought he was a bit of a highlight. It does get a bit daft. I lost track of the trains at one point. You're thinking, hang on a minute, which train? And I did go and see it with a friend of mine. And when it kept almost ending, and then kept almost ending, and then mine just turned around and my friend went, oh, for the love of... But I did laugh a lot. There's some really funny moments. And I have to say, I got real joy from looking around the kids. I just watching the kids watching this film. And when the music comes on, when the William Tell Overture comes on, they all start doing, you know, pretending they're riding horses. And they were laughing hysterically and they were yelping. I yelped at least 3 times in glee. I laughed out loud. So I kind of think if you go and see it as a family film, there were moments of sort of Indiana Jones. And there was I talked to a lovely boy when he was coming out, Reagan, and he absolutely loved it. He was 13. And I think a lot of the kids coming out their eyes were lit up. They had loved it.